Moving on to a potentially controversial topic. Once again, we are going to talk about Specialized because they like doing really,
Hyperbolic.
fun things.
No, they've just got a very active marketing team.
They have.
So
Get paid a lot of money to do good work.
Specialized have, in quotes, the world's lightest gravel bike. It's called the S-Works Crux. The Crux has for a long time been their cyclocross bike, which now has basically rebranded into a gravel bike. It claims that it's the lightest of its kind with a frame weight of 725 grams and a complete build of 7.25 grams. It has clearance, 7.25 kilograms. It has clearance for 47 mils on 700s and 2.1 inch tires on 650Bs, which is the same as the Diverge. And it has a price of £11,500.
That's just SRAM Red though, so...
That is SRAM Red, is it?
Yeah.
That's
Several things off this topic. Firstly, does this mean cyclocross as a bike design is dead? Obviously, cyclocross will happen, but yeah, because they're not doing... everybody's dropping it. I think Ridley is probably one of the only brands that's still effectively making cyclocross bike. Kinesis, who is big in the UK for cyclocross bikes, even they do a GX race now. So it's a gravel bike. You can still do... don't get me wrong, you still do cross on it, but they've made them less twitchy, longer wheelbases. It's all a dual bike. So, two things on this. The lightest gravel bikes of its kind. I just don't get it. Don't get it at all. 725 grams for a frame set. That's lighter than most road bike frame sets out there. How do you make a frame lighter? Use less carbon. Now, it's gravel. Gravel is inherently, depending on how bad you are, obviously, the gravel I do is really bad.
You don't do gravel, you do mountain biking.
Gravel, yes.
You do mountain biking on gravel bikes.
But, see, I would look at this and think 2.1 inch tire clearance, perfect. So they've done that really well. The tire clearance is excellent. I would prefer to see 700 by 50 because I think that's where it's going. But 47 is still great. 650B by 2.1 is right up my street. But then I would be too nervous to ride the bike. I rode Rob's Envy Mog the other day, which is a very durable bike. Lovely, but it scares me in terms of how I'm just worried about snapping the bike. So, yeah. I just don't think the weight makes any difference. My gravel bike, for instance, is titanium. It's heavier, but it's 8.7 kilos. As soon as I put my lights, my bags, and all the rubbish I put on it every single day, it's closer to 13 kilos. It's just the lighter just doesn't make a difference in gravel specifically. I'm just worried. Like, you're taking carbon away where it most likely is needed. Most people race gravel or ride gravel don't weigh 50 kilos. They'll be heavier.
I guess if you were performance focused, because the gravel race scene is now like an actual thing. It's big. Or it's very much growing, and there's lots of people out there which will be thinking about doing gravel events rather than a sportif, for example. And if you're that kind of person, that way inclined, and you want to, finish in the top 30% rather than the bottom 30%, you might be thinking about, well, I want to be light. I want to not load my bike up with stuff. If like crit racing, people do fourth cat crits on £15,000 race bikes, which is the most terrifying thing in the world because inevitably you're going to crash. And it's kind of the same thing here. There are people which will want a really lightweight gravel bike. However, I am forever challenging whether aero is important and whether weight is important, and I do not think either are.
I completely get what you're saying there. Lighter, and if you've got the money, buy the bike. It's your money, spend it however you want to spend it. But don't be confused and thinking by buying a slightly heavier bike, you're going to be slower. I had this argument with James, who works in the shop, who races for a Pro Conti team and does really well. And he's been doing quite a few gravel races on Francis's bike. That's Scott, which is also really light. Skinnier tires to going faster. But you look at the gravel, they had the World Champs qualifier up here, the Graloch. And the fastest guy over there from Ineos was finished 34 kilometers an hour. So it's fast, but it's not aerodynamics where people talk about 40 kilometers plus fast, and that's a couple of riders. I think second place was almost 2 kilometers an hour slower than him. So aero, like you said, doesn't play in. The weight's one thing, but one of my mates, Jesse Yates, who's continuously coming top 10 in quite a lot of gravel events against big names, he's riding on a titanium bike with big tires. So most of these events are quite long. They're not an hour long like cyclocross. They're usually going to be out there for 3-4 plus hours. So being comfortable, I think, is going to be more of a thing than just the weight. And the other thing is, once again, is if you don't have confidence in your frame not snapping, you don't ride the same. You hear of a lot of old people that raced back in the early 2000s now riding carbon saying like sprinting wise, they're worried. And I know it's not an actual issue, but they're worried mentally about the bike snapping, even though it won't. With this, yeah, does that have an effect? I like riding my titanium bike because I know when I go down something crazy, it's just not going to give out on me. And I know the carbon probably won't either, a good quality, heavier carbon frame.
But it's just
in your mind, and it slows me down.
What about carbon wheels, though? Because you ride carbon wheels.
Carbon wheels are stronger than alloy wheels.
What about, I was going to say carbon seat post, but you ride a dropper.
A dropper post, yeah.
Because that's the kind of riding you do. That's the kind of gravel you do.
Yeah, well, it's a drop-on mountain bike probably. But yeah, it's inherently, the problem is that gravel is road bike orientated. And it's not like mountain bike companies are developing it, and Specialized, I might be completely wrong on this, but I'm going to assume it's their road division that's developing their gravel bikes, not their mountain bike division. They'll have different people for these kind of things. And back in the day, people just used to think that fast gravel, you're going to need a lighter bike, tire clearance doesn't matter because people are still going to ride skinny tires. And they're probably the first ones just gone, okay, well, let's make the bike light and big tire clearance. So cover all the bases. And it's marketing. It's purely marketing.
It's why we end up talking about Specialized bikes a lot, because their marketing is so hyperbolic in terms of the lightest, the best, the everything.
Cannondale as well, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what else do you expect? But also it just shows that the gravel bike space generally is so huge now that why wouldn't someone do the lightest ever? Because someone's going to want it.
We can sit here and knock it all day long, but they sell a lot of bikes.
Yeah.
So it works. I mean, these people are getting paid, and they're not getting paid to give people good info. They're getting paid to sell more bikes. That's the job, and they're doing it well. So, I mean, good on them. I just like say it's another thing. 725 grams. Let's say against most of the other frame sets will be the light ones will be 800 to 900 grams. A good set of gravel tires, a 2.1 inch, is going to weigh 800 grams a tire. Then you can buy like one with a thinner carcass where you're probably going to slice it up more with sharp rocks, and that'll be 600 grams. So you've saved 200 grams a tire there. So that's 400 grams lighter, meaning you can take that bike and add 400 grams to it, just different tires.
I guess if you've got a larger volume tire, are you putting more sealant in it?
Yes, and also people panic. So they put sealant in, and then an event comes up, it's been 2 or 3 months, they've been told they need to top up the sealant, and they just put more sealant in. I had a guy come into the bike shop the other day with, I think it was a litre of sealant in each wheel.
Each?
It was, I don't know how he's done it. He must have just been syringing in. So if you take the wheels round, like the bottom third of the wheel was just full of sealant.
Well, there we go. He's not going to get a puncture.
But it would ride terribly as well. Yeah. But yeah,
there's a lot of things. I think ultimately what we're getting at is there's so many things about the gravel space that is inherently not light, that spending a premium amount of money on a bike that is 500 grams lighter or a frame that's 500 grams lighter, it just seems like a waste of money.
The other topic to broach with this, obviously I'm biased because this is what we do as a shop, but £11,500 for a gravel bike. You don't get to pick your tires, you don't get to pick your saddle, you don't get to pick your bars, your stem, you don't get to pick your gear ratios.
Your geometry.
You don't get to pick anything on this bike. So you're paying £11,500. Almost every single person out there's got different tire preference. So instantly changing your tires. Now, a good set of tires for this level of bikes is going to cost you £70 a tire, plus getting it set up, tubeless, plus sealant and all these things for a bike shop. So all of a sudden, you've bought this and you have to pay money on that. You want to change your handlebar tape. You want to change your stem length, possibly, your bar width, your saddle. So all of a sudden, it's not £11,500. It's you're going to be adding quite a bit of money to that just to get the bike the way you.
I will be honest though,
wanted.
Specialized bikes do look great.
Oh, it's a pretty bike.
That was what I thought as well. It does look good, doesn't it?
I want that bike. I'm never buying that bike, but they just always look good.
What it really needs to be is, if 11.5 grand seems like a lot of money to you, it's definitely not worth investing in something that you're going to throw around. It's going to get rocks, flip up off your wheel and then hit it and stuff like that.
Chipping it to bits.
Exactly. Whereas if 11.5 grand is somehow pocket money for you, then first of all, good for you. But also then go for it. Why not?
Do 2 bikes then, though. Use that one for your dirt, your reavers, your like smooth gravel rides, and then you get yourself something a bit more durable for...
Like a custom steel one, like my Howler.
Yes, or titanium.
Or titanium.
Which, I mean, I smashed through a brick wall with my titanium one. Broke my arm, but the actual frame was still okay.